April 24, 2026. We are in the 5th year, day 60 since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. Welcome to the Situation Report. Today in this report, nothing is happening at the front. Ukrainians are attacking, but Russians aren't advancing during their major offensive. In the end, the front is at a standstill, just like it has been for the past few days. But there are things happening outside of this war, or actually right in the middle of this war, that are sometimes so insanely grotesque that I can't just leave them out of the Situation Report. I've got a lot of that for you today. Just take a look. It's really very interesting, again, what's happening in this war. Among other things, we'll take a look at satellite images of the recently hit storage facility near Tuapse. We'll watch a complaint video from the Russian side and many other interesting videos. So enough with the introductions, let's take a look. New satellite images show a mixed picture from Tuapse. Part of the tank storage, especially in the northern area, seems to have remained undamaged. The central area of the facility remains barely visible due to intense fires burning there, which is the main focus. The central section, where the largest tanks are located, has apparently been hit so hard that oil is now leaking and flowing into the nearby river. That means part of the facility, the smaller northern section, is still standing, but the core area is heavily damaged and is now also affecting areas outside the site, as we've seen in reports from local residents in recent days. There are complaint videos again within the Russian army. This video is addressed to those people who see it, according to the speaker. That's why I have, of course, shared it with all of you. Please help us. We are from the 2nd Assault Company of the 82nd Regiment. Let's pause here for a moment. Where is the 82nd Regiment? I almost know that by heart now. It's located up here near Wolf's Lair, right at this spot. And it's been tasked with expanding Putin's buffer zone for several years now. But even along the rest of the front, hardly anything is moving forward here. By the way, the regiment has been here since mid-2024. But let's move on. He says they were hit by a Baba Yaga. That's a Ukrainian heavy drone that can carry several kilos of explosives. And it also has night vision capability. After they were basically attacked, they went to the commander. He then hit them and wanted to send them back into the attack. He then asks him, how are they even supposed to go back? One of them has a concussion and the other is wounded. The commander then says, I don't give a damn about that. Go forward. Otherwise, I'll wipe you out. By the way, in Russian military slang, ausnullen means to execute. For all viewers who don't know the term, of course. Execution in this case does not mean, and I want to explicitly mention this again, that the commander goes over, draws his pistol, and simply shoots him down. Instead, it means that these people will simply perish at the front line during the next attack, with hardly any weapons. Or they are sacrificed to a drone, as has often been seen before. They are basically sent into attacks for which they are not equipped. They are turned into human bait for the actual attack, meant to draw enemy fire onto themselves, and their chances of survival are usually close to zero. The other one then says that they won't make it back. They had already seen many other guys lying dead on the ground. They want to see their families in Russia again and are asking for help, since the viewers of the video are their last hope. I don't think their request will succeed, because what can realistically be done for them? They obviously have a phone and internet access. If I were in their place, I would have called Ukraine's I Want to Live project. That's a hotline you can contact, and if you want to desert, they make sure you get a designated route to the Ukrainian forces. And then they also have to identify themselves somehow, for example, with a white handkerchief on the front of their vest or jacket or something like that, or with a specific hand signal. And then they won't be shot if they get too close to the Ukrainians. That's how they can desert. Ukraine started that project a few years ago, and it's actually been quite interesting and successful. But if you make the complaint video the way they did, then at best it's only useful for the situation report. Because for them it's actually counterproductive. If I can see it here, then the chances that their commander has already seen the video are pretty high, especially when they show their faces and complain about him and his actions, which are actually illegal. They've probably already been killed while we're watching the video here, but that's part of the Russian army. As harsh as it sounds, many people won't admit that's how they treat their own people, which is a big problem for them. So as I said, it's not something to envy, but it does give us an insight into the Army structure. Take a look. This is an incredibly interesting video. We see a university in Russia and a guest speaker who is allowed to give a lecture via a live video link. He is from the military and thanks for the opportunity to speak before such a large audience. He was asked to talk about his service in the special military operation in which he is currently serving. He talks about being in a drone unit, specifically with Rubicon, which is known to be one of the Russian elite drone units. By the way, you can watch the video on my Telegram channel. He wants to tell a story about a real Russian drone pilot whose call sign is Goodwin. He commands a squad of Rubicon drone scouts, and he was a top-level professional in this field. In addition, there was another soldier with the call sign Ernest. He was a real career officer and a good soldier. Both served very far from the front line. After all, they are drone pilots who hide far from the front and operate from there. Now there's a problem. Both of them are no longer alive, and the commander also extorted money from his subordinates. And the third problem is that the speaker, and now he's talking about himself, is a very good soldier. Just not a Russian soldier, but a Ukrainian one. And he wants to say that none of them should volunteer to fight in Ukraine because otherwise he would have to kill all of them. And that means every single one who signs a contract with the Ministry of Defense. Your faces have already been recorded just like the rectors, as well as the one who is presenting everything for you and who is turning around in the video right now. Don't believe what the soldiers tell you. The front hasn't moved for 4 years. It's at a standstill. It's a cemetery the size of 2 countries. And everyone else who comes to Ukraine will be killed by us. He hastily added before the lecturers cut the connection. That's really funny, in my opinion, because Russia uses the universities to recruit new drone pilots. And they've also approved this through the Ministry of Defense and want a certain percentage of students for the drone war. I told you about this, I think, 2 weeks ago in the Situation Report. And then a Ukrainian soldier managed to sneak into this live broadcast, probably by using a false identity, pretending to be a Russian soldier so he could warn and also threaten the students. And I think that's pretty well done, to be honest. You really have to take your hat off to actions like that. A Russian sea drone was heading for the port of Odessa in broad daylight. Ukrainian units were able to spot and destroy it before it could cause any damage. Now Russia is turning the tables. It was only a matter of time. It was foreseeable. Now we're also seeing Russian sea drones after having seen so many Ukrainian ones. And this is happening in a Russian restricted area near a Ukrainian-controlled port. There are 2 objectives. With its fleet of sea drones, Ukraine has a wide range of Russian warships, important transport ships, and docking sites it can target. And that's at many different ports. The Russians, on the other hand, do not. There are no important Ukrainian fleet units here that could be sunk, or that would significantly weaken Russia in any way if they were not destroyed. But what does exist is the port of Odessa, which is extremely important economically for Ukraine, and that's a port the Russians can also focus on. That means they can focus their entire drone fleet on this port, while Ukraine has the option to spread theirs across several ports, but not with the same intensity. Let's see how this develops. But let's stay with drones for now. The well-known Ukrainian AN-28, which is already being used as a Shahed hunter, that is, it takes off, detects the drones, and destroys them, has reportedly achieved over 150 kills, and has now been further modified. Now it serves for reconnaissance, direct engagement, and as a platform for interceptor drones. Specifically, several, apparently 6, small interceptor drones have been mounted directly under the wing and can be launched during flight. This changes the operation quite significantly. The aircraft itself apparently remains outside the direct danger zone while it brings the drones closer to the targets and releases them there. That means you no longer have the problem of losing pilots, like back then with the F-16 or with other aircraft that got too close to the drones and were destroyed when they ran out of missiles. That's because an aircraft can only carry so many missiles. When they had fired off their air-to-air missiles, and there were still Shahed drones in the airspace, they flew towards them with the onboard machine gun or the onboard cannon. They shot at the drone, it exploded, and often debris then caused the aircraft to crash as well. In this case, that's no longer really possible, which is of course an advantage. The interceptor drones were then detached from the aircraft and then carried out the actual attack. This provides a mobile airborne launch point that can be relocated and operates independently of a fixed ground station. That means the biggest advantage: greater range, faster response times, and the ability to intercept targets at altitude before they even become dangerous. We've talked a lot about the FP-2 drone lately. I've also told you that I personally suspect Ukraine has significantly developed it further since it has made a comeback. And many critical facilities, especially storage sites, not just oil depots, but also logistics warehouses, could be hit very precisely and with increased penetrating power. And it turns out I was right, because here an FP-2 drone carrying a 100-kilogram warhead was used, flying into a building. Take a look at this. 100 kilograms delivered by a drone, transported to the target, and then detonated. I actually find that quite nostalgic when you think back to the first moments of the war, or the first months of the war, when the Ukrainians still had a hard time dropping more than a single hand grenade from a drone with any degree of safety. Now, 100-kilogram warheads are being flown on drones into different buildings. Even if nothing is moving forward at the front, you can see for yourself the updates keep coming, and very interesting things keep happening. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything like this. With that, I want to thank all subscribers, channel members, and the ALGEL crew. Special thanks to Lieutenant Colonel Renicky, Celia Didik, Ferdy, and Mayor Hofer. Subscribe, like, comment, and see you in the next update.